Good afternoon, Page Unified School District. Welcome to the virtual world, and I mean the virtual world. So, to begin our welcome back, I'd like to introduce Mr. Candelaria, our governing board president, who's going to speak to you. Mr. Candelaria.
Well, Superintendent Wallen, thank you so much, and it's my honor to speak to the staff coming back 2020, 2021, and who'd ever thought we'd got to this day. As long as I think a good portion of the staff's already been here, and they were just waiting for everybody else to share the pain. But I'd like to say good afternoon to Page Unified staff. On behalf of our school board, Sandra Kidman, Desiree Fowler, Dee McCary, and Ed Franklin, I'd like to welcome you back to school. I'm Bob Candelaria, president of the school board. Hey, we have 15 new teachers to Page and to the school district. We recognize it's no easy task to come into Page and land adequate, affordable housing, but trust you have been taken care of. I know there's a lot of folks that have been here for a while still looking for adequate and affordable housing. We have 5 first-year teachers I'd like to shout out to, and one of them is Joanna Atakai from Purdue University. Welcome. Ronald Freeman from the University of Virginia. Welcome. Aurora Rankin from NAU. Rachel Wilson, South Dakota State University, and Chelsea Zlomke, I hope I got that halfway right, National University in San Diego. Welcome to Page Unified School District. 5 individuals who have moved into administrative roles, just really acknowledge them. Nancy Warner, principal at Lakeview, Mary Stahl, principal at Desert View, and Dr. Tina Hubble, principal for Manson Mesa and Sage and Sand, our new virtual platform, and she'll also oversee the ACES program. And Kevin Anderson's taking on the assistant principal role at Desert View. Hey, in this time of changing climate, we all have to be flexible to fill needs, and several of our teachers and parapros have been moved into roles to facilitate our new demands, and thank you so much for being flexible, agile, mobile, and hostile. I'd like to acknowledge 3 ladies who now assume the roles of SATs, Roxanne Wilmus at Page High School, Samantha Wright at Desert View, and Lisa Horsley at Lakeview. And finally, I'd like to really give a special thanks to the CWC, our Community Wellness Collaboration Group, and others who have teamed together to provide feedback to us to help us better be prepared for COVID. Encompass, Canyonlands, Banner Health, LaChie Medical, and soon to be joined by Tuba City Medical. Special thanks to Joe Wright and Gwen Laszlo for their coordination efforts. You'll be hearing from them as they have committed to keep us informed and prepared all along this journey that we have. So what will our new year look like? Honestly, we've been talking about that since March, and today we can point out the obvious. Change is the order of the day. One of the best classes I took through Grand Canyon University was called Change and Chaos Brings Conflict. I'd like to think that over the years I've learned one thing, that both change and chaos happen. They'll happen in the best of circumstances. The other thing I realize is that I can adapt and be effective in spite of the circumstances. I haven't always loved the jobs I've been tasked with, but one thing I can say, I really enjoyed working with the people I was working with. Systems and processes, well, they come and go, and we can agree or disagree on those things, but at the end of the day, it's all about relationships and how we adjust to our roles. Aesop tells a really great story of a man who owned a donkey. He'd offer a ride on his donkey to those who were looking to cross the hot desert. One day, a customer purchased this service, and the man, and the donkey took off across the desert. After a few hours, the customer who was riding on the donkey decided he wanted to take a break. So the customer dismounted and, seeing that the donkey cast a nice shadow, sat down in the shade of the beast. The owner of the donkey wasn't pleased at this, as he now had to sit in the blazing sun. The owner decided that he wanted the shade of the donkey, so waiting until his customer fell asleep, the owner moved his donkey a few feet over and sat down in the shade of his donkey, which left his customer in the hot sun. Sensing the heat that was now barreling down on him, the customer woke up and yelled, "How dare you? I paid for this donkey." To which the owner replied, "You paid for the donkey, but you didn't pay for the shadow. If you want the shadow as well, you have to pay more." Well, the 2 men began to argue, and the argument got so heated that The owner of the donkey slapped the customer. The customer slapped him back, and they began to fight. The ruckus got so loud that the donkey became frightened and ran off, leaving the man and the customer with no donkey and no shade. The two men sat in the burning sun and suffered, all because they were fighting over a shadow. Well, the art of communication and team building can be a tricky thing, kind of like a shadow. When people argue, they lose track of the desired result. Personally, the cost can be the loss of or damage to a relationship. Professionally, the cost could be the loss of business or a damaged working environment. In either case, during an argument, many people end up fighting over the shadows of their own opinions, agendas, and emotions instead of looking at a situation logically and listening to the other person's side of an issue. Hey, what we're going to need coming into these new waters is really a good high emotional IQ. And let me say it again, we need good high emotional IQ. And what that involves is putting our goals ahead of our own agendas. At PUSD, our goal is a healthy and safe environment for everyone. Our goal is great teamwork, allowing us to maximize our efforts. Our goal is to engage our students in whatever platform we present the necessary information. Our goal is to inspire our students pre-K through 12 to want to be learners. Our goal is improve student achievement. We are moving into the unknown, and that in it of itself creates a space for chaos. We're being asked to change, and that creates chaos. But I'm a proponent of chaos theory, and in the Quora forum, it's explained as an interdisciplinary theory stating that within apparent randomness of chaotic complex systems, there are underlying patterns, there are interconnections, constant feedback loops, repetition, self-similarity, factorials, and self-organization. It's important to understand that chaos and order coexist in almost everything. We're constantly reminded that we are in the midst of very unusual times due to a world-sweeping coronavirus, which has brought this butterfly effect to our lives. I would encourage us to write about our unique experiences. Our lives have made up of vignettes, stories that will be told over and over again. Just think about the adventure you were about to embark on. Will our adventure be unique? Absolutely. But I will submit that we will all follow the basic premise of a great story. There'll be a protagonist, a hero or anti-hero. There'll be an antagonist, normally the bad guy, and inciting action. This begins your story with an event that sets characters in motion. And of course, there's going to be conflict. There are four basic types: conflict with self, conflict with others, conflict with the environment, and conflict with the supernatural. I'll suggest to you conflict with self is going to be the one we really have to fight. That's the internal battle that the lead character, that's me, has within. It's often extremely powerful to deal with, and we must deal with it. Finally, there is resolution, the part of the story's plot where the main problem is resolved or worked out. I'd ask you to write your story this year, taking on the bad guy. The inciting action is the beginning of the school year with our butterfly effect, COVID-19. As we start our journey, we are immediately confronted with conflict. For most, it's never looked this way before. We are confronted with our internal conflict. Gosh, are we moving in the right direction? Can I do what I'm asked to do? Am I equipped? Can I buy into the new direction that's being set? Do I feel safe when doing my work? Am I able to deal with the ongoing changes that I know will come? I remember one of my greatest adventures started with a complete shift in my life. It was the late 60s. Many of you will remember the 60s well. Vietnam was at its height. There weren't draft numbers back then, and every able-bodied young man was being drafted and sent to Vietnam. I had an exemption based on my good standing at the University of New Mexico. However, at 17, I wasn't looking ahead and considering what my continued low academic achievement would bring. After a year and a half of poor performance, the university had the audacity to send my name to the draft board, and I was labeled USDA prime beef. Instead of waiting for my draft notice, I joined the Navy to avoid going into the Army and an automatic ticket to the war. The Navy prepared me as a radioman, able to handle all types of communication. We were trained to handle shipboard life, including surviving during a shipwreck. Nothing they did prepared us for war in Vietnam. The most lethal thing I learned to do at boot camp was how to fold my skivvies and to carry my sea bag. After several months of training and eagerly awaiting orders, what I'd hoped would not happen happened. I was assigned to the United States Litchfield County, an old World War II ship located in Da Nang, Vietnam. Before leaving the States, I said my goodbyes and off I went. Flying from California to Seoul, Korea, and then welcome to Da Nang with rockets exploding literally at the runway where we were about to land, it was surreal. Once on the ship, things became familiar. I knew what my role was on the ship. I would handle a very important piece of our efforts, communication. Through my 4 years of service on 2 different ships, both serving in Vietnam, we would face rocket attacks. We were part of a support chain that supplied ammunition and food. We moved vital units up rivers and housed fighting troops. We would retrieve dead bodies, house wounded aboard ship. We were part of massive campaigns to cripple enemy intrusions. And then we would finally participate in moving ground troops out of Vietnam during the de escalation. Once done with 4 years of facing the unknown and dealing with so many chaotic events that made the most organized of plans degrade into events that all you could do is work your way through and learn as you went. On the way home from all that potential disaster, we would face our biggest challenge. We had 3 great ports to visit after all our hard work before we would hit the States. We were going to British Hong Kong. We were going to Auckland, New Zealand, and Perth, Australia. While in Hong Kong, though, another butterfly effect brought chaos. It was a massive typhoon. We were tossed around viciously on this big ship through the night, with our ship breaking up and finally hitting something that broke our ship in half. The half that broke in half, the back half went down. That was our berthing compartment. We had fortunately gotten out of there. We went down at 2 in the morning. Our training kicked in and we did all the things necessary to survive. The only thing left was rescue. We waited the storm out as it came right over the top of us. We experienced the quiet of the eye of the storm and then the back half power of the storm. We weren't going to get our rescue until the morning. We were one of 80 ships to sink in the storm. Everyone in our crew made it out. By the way, the typhoon that hit was named Rose, the worst ever to hit Hong Kong. P.S. Rose would be the name of my future mother-in-law. There were a couple of more chaotic events on the way back from that traumatic event, like a plane crash in Hawaii and a potentially disaster car wreck on Oakland Bay Bridge, but those are stories for a different day. Through it all, training took us so far, but ultimately it was each of our teams doing their jobs and all of us relying on each other to get us through. This year, you have teams who have done their best to plan out every scenario, to ensure that we are following CDC guidelines, to hire additional people, to purchase all the resources we can to ensure not only that you feel safe, but that you are safe. Your teams have zeroed in on beyond textbooks. We have sought to bring alignment from pre-K to 12 in our educational approach, and we are counting on each of us to do our part to help our students through this great adventure. On our way, let's stick to what we've been trained to do and then lean on each other when we need help. By the way, I know effective PLCs are one of the most important pieces we need to move so that we can move the academic needle. We as a school board appreciate the unique situation we're all in, and we commit to do the best job we can to respond to the ultimate goal of student achievement. Hey, we're in this together. So as you consider your story, remember there's something special about coming through chaos. We will always have resolution during the year to any of our problems. And as with any great story, I'm praying and hoping our ending this year has that great tagline, and they lived happily ever after. Let's just not run into Hurricane Rose. By the way, Rose was a very, very, very special mother-in-law. Superintendent Wallen, that's all I got.
Thank you. What words of wisdom. What a story. Wow, you've been hiding that back. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Larry Wallen, superintendent, 35 years. However, it's very important. I feel like a first year teacher. I feel like I'm got my feet on the ground. Somebody showed me my classroom and I'm ready to go because all this virtual stuff is awesome. And we knew we are going to go there one of these days, but now it's here. Every one of you are virtual people getting out there and going to open up new and different avenues for our students. I always watched my grandsons with their computer, their iPads, their games, and wondered when will we ever get back to good old paper and pencil and those kinds of things. And obviously, this is going to jumpstart a whole new era in education. We're going to be moving forward and we're going to be doing things in a totally different way. And of course, with any new innovation comes challenges, as Bob talked about, lots of challenges. Systems that would run normally now are being disrupted and being challenged and purposed to a different way. So those are the things that we're going to be facing as we move forward into this school year. I can tell you since January 1st, I'm what now? Where's Terry? Terry's always telling me you're 27 days old, you're 28 days old. I guess today I might be 31 days old in this new superintendency. And every day it's a change. Every day it's scouring my emails for that PowerPoint or that virtual meeting to learn about the latest and greatest of things that are supposed to be happening. The governor's new executive order, the challenges of school districts around the state and what they're all facing. And that's what we are facing in Page, Arizona. The best part, though, is we have a beautiful community. We have beautiful surroundings. And most importantly, I've been so impressed with the administrative team and as I've met teachers with the teaching teams that we have put in place. We were very lucky, thanks to the governing board, to be able to allow 23 teachers come in for 2 weeks and work on how to deliver virtual lessons and what all that looks like. And each day I learn more and more about what that's going to look like. Our goal, and I want everyone to join me in that goal, is to be a B school by spring. Whatever the circumstances are, whatever we face, we want to be a B school. We want to walk around and feel like, oh yeah, I am proud of what we've accomplished, despite all the challenges, despite all the roadblocks. Oh, by the way, and roadblocks are just made to be run over. But despite all that, we are going to be successful. And as Bob said, we're going to be successful because we've chosen the BT curriculum framework to be our guiding instructional and curricular program. Well documented, well vetted, well practiced. That will help us get the straightest point, the straightest line to that B rating. And that's where we're headed, that B rating. So whatever is thrown at us, it's going to be a challenge. From March till May, there's not a lot happened in education throughout the state. Well, the summer slipped by, and now we're going into August. And as I watched the news this morning, and I'm watching the banners across the bottom, this school district is going virtual, this school district is going virtual. We all have different start dates, but we're all going virtual to start. And then as the guidelines come out and we feel it could be safe for our students, which is our primary, most important thing, is staff and student safety. And that's why we make all these decisions on. And I realize when the mask order came down that is a challenge. And I also learned from our medical team that Bob talked about that we've been working with, that there's a thing called a mask break, coffee break, lunch break. There's now a mask break. Kids and adults need to take a mask break. So make sure that the social distancing is in place so that you can take that mask break. But as we move toward that B rating, it's going to be a new learning environment. And I can tell you from having implemented online environments before, in my last year as a principal in a school, turnaround school, one of the most important pieces that we underestimated was the power of reading. When you're going to that online environment, you are doing so much more reading and interpreting and analyzing and discussing and cussing than you ever did before. And you're all going to face that. And you're going to face that with kids. You know, there's this unwritten aversion to reading with the advent of television and video games and stuff like that. So now we have to cause kids to understand that reading online is just as important as when you were watching that video game or watching that TV. Reading will cause your lessons to be more challenged and cause students to disconnect. And that's one of our challenges. We have to build new connections to our students individually and to their families. That connection, which was easy to build when you've got the students in front of you, is more difficult to build when you got that screen between you. That is more challenging. And so now building that connection is more important. So what are the strategies that we're going to use to build connections with our students? That is a critical piece. And then sustaining those correct connections, because as students become aware, how would I say, they become practiced in virtual learning, that connection is going to be even more important. The other night, we did a town hall with the principals, and we talked about a virtual day. And so each principal went through and described a virtual day. Before that, I talked about the home. You have to prepare your students to learn at home. And what was really cool is I just had a conversation with my son who is in Phoenix, and I said, how are you getting ready for their learning at home? Because that's what they chose to do. They're going to be in the hybrid model and learning at home. Well, he said, first we've got to reorganize our house. We need to create learning spaces, desks, lights, an environment for each of my 3 grandkids. Are you going to put them side by side because they're 9 and 10 years old? Are you going to spread them apart? How's that going to work? He said, oh my gosh, we're thinking about that. And one is different than the other in the 8 and 9. They're like twins, but they each are unique. One's a little professor and one is a real athletic type. And then my senior grandson, the one who's a senior, is all of his AP tests this year are 4, so he's in a whole different world as he's moving into his senior year. So you have to organize your home environment. And as you're working with families and as you're talking to kids, you're watching that on the screen. That's really important, that you help the families realize that it's not just sitting on the couch, putting the laptop in front of you or the Chromebook in front of you and going online. No, I can tell you from my discussions with my oldest grandson, he logs into his school at 8 o'clock in full uniform, not in his pajamas. And that's what I talked about in our virtual town hall. No pajamas and virtual learning. You might wear your house shoes. You might be in your pajama bottoms, but up here, you need to be dressed for learning, because we all know that representation is going to carry the kids so much further if we maintain those standards, if we maintain that focus on that this is a learning environment. So as you're talking through this with parents and talking through this with students, talk to them about having a space to study, a space to practice, a space to listen to the videos or presentations you may be sending them. Extremely important. It's got to start there. And most importantly, in addition, when you're talking to parents, you can't just abandon the learning because it's virtual. You can't just say, okay, Joe, Sammy, go get online and do your stuff. They have to support. They have to build a new connection to their son and daughters. Sons and daughters. They have to build that new connection in order to make learning more real. That sustainability of that is going to be very, very challenging. As we went through and developed the continuous learning plan back in June, one of the things that we suddenly realized is you don't spend 6 hours on the computer. There are time limits based on age and based on how your attention span and learning and all that kind of stuff. And of course, as teachers, you have a variety of kids in your class. You'll have a variety of kids in your online class. So again, sustaining that engagement is going to be a challenge of new learning, because it's not the same just to clap your hands in the classroom and everybody looks up. You clap your hands online and nobody can even hear you. So rebuilding those connections, rebuilding that classroom is going to be absolutely critical to what that's going to look like. So when you start out the next week on August the 10th, work very hard to establish the learning environment through that virtual learning. Look and make sure that you're really pushing that. So first thing is no pajamas in virtual learning. Those are some of the challenges that's going to get us to that B rating. And I appreciate all of you as I come around and get to meet you and learn more about you. That will be totally awesome. Some things in the big picture that I need help with. One is because we're going virtual learning, because we're doing a distance learning plan, our students don't count as full ADM as they should. So we're going to be reimbursed for our ADM at 85% until they reach a certain level, and then it could go up, which means we have to watch our expenditures from now until December because cash flow is an interesting issue for us. And so I'm waiting for that first budget report from the state that tells us where we are. Every kid needs to be in contact with their virtual learning every day. But most importantly, we need to pay particular attention to those students that are infrequently connected. We don't want a kid to be dropped for 10 days non-attendance. So when you see that students miss 1, 2, 3 days, get on the phone, get in touch with that parent, get in touch with that student, get them back engaged in school. And if they submit to you, you submitted maybe a paper assignment or something, and they submit it back to you, you can look at that date and go back and mark them in attendance for that date. You can mark them in attendance for that date you made that connection. So the attendance rules are very different right now. But once students are enrolled, we want to do everything we can to prevent that 10-day drop. The third thing, and one of the easiest ways to help us make sure we have the money that we need, is energy. Every day, well, the first time I did it, every day I leave the office, the first thing I do is turn off all the lights, turn off the computers. What do you mean turn off the computers? Yeah, if computers are not turned off, they're still drawing energy all night long, whether you're using them or not. But at any rate, I go and turn off the lights in the office as I go out the door. So the first night I did this, I said, okay, I'm going to practice good energy conservation. I turned off the lights. I walked out outside and realized that my car keys were still in my office. And I didn't know what to do. So I had to call security, and Josh had to come and bail me out because I was locked out. So again, that was a habit of just walking out without checking the lights. Now I make that my exiting strategy for every night I'm going out, checking those lights. So everything we can do to maintain good energy conservation. I'll be putting out more information for you later about that. Everything we can do to reduce our energy conservation. Those are the things that are happening. August 10th, we come back on the ground and are on virtual learning, and we're ready to go. We'll be doing virtual learning along the schedules that each of the principals has given you. The critical piece is we're not sure yet when we will return to brick and mortar. I wish it was tomorrow. I wish I could say, kids, come back tomorrow. But I'm very, very concerned for your safety and for the students' safety that we don't end up with someone being ill. And so we are watching the guidelines. August 7th, the Department of Health and Human Services is supposed to give us new guidelines for what the standard would be to return to school. We'll see what those say, but most importantly, our kind of unofficial guideline is a 5% or less infection rate, no new cases in 14 days, extensive hand washing, extensive sanitization, those kind of things. We have to watch the spread rate. That's the real key, is watching the spread rate. So all those things change on a daily basis as we move forward to prepare for that. Those are our challenges. Virtual learning is going to be our big challenge. I keep sitting back and saying, okay, on August 10, 170 teachers are going to turn on their computers and go online. At the end of each virtual classroom is going to be 25 students. That's about 2,600 kids. Wow, that's a lot of internet capacity. And of course, when that happens, hopefully we won't blow any fuses anywhere. We'll see where that goes. So those are some of the things that are coming up, that virtual learning as we get more organized. But our goal is to be able to end the year and walk around with that, we are a B school. We are proud to be a B school. We are going to change our ratings and make that happen. That's going to take your job, your work. That's also going to take the students' work. So you're going to have to work really hard with kids to understand that they need to learn with effort. Learn with effort. It's just not enough to sit and learn. You need to do something with it. You need to learn with effort. You need to practice, participate in the class, and do those assignments on a timely manner. And most importantly, as I used to tell my high school kids when I was a turnaround principal, learn it the first time. Don't put your teacher in the position where they have to teach and reteach and reteach and reteach. We do have reteach and enrich in our program, but that should diminish as we teach kids learn it the first time. Pay attention to what's happening. And as teachers get better at it, you'll see that happen in that virtual environment. So those are some of the pieces that I could talk on and on and on. And I know people are looking at me going down, thumbs down, thumbs down. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. But I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be a part of Page Unified School District. I was here from 1988 to 1993. And of course, as I just met a student who was enrolled as a student during that time, and he wanted to know what happened to my brown hair. And I said, wait, here's my ID card from 1982, 92, 93. So see, I have brown hair, plus I'm about 50 pounds lighter. So, oh yeah, I remember you. There we go. That's what we want. So thank you. Thank everyone. It's going to be an exciting year. It's going to be a challenging year. We just solve problems. And problems are easy to solve because when you have a problem, you know what is, you know what you want. All you got to do is cross that line. What it is, what we want, how do we get there? So let's make that happen. So with that, let's kick off our recognition of our senior service award employees, and look at those names and do that. Because one of the things I found out about Page is you have people that have been here a long time, which speaks to the stability of the organization. So we are excited to start the 2021 school year and honor and recognize the following service award recipients. And I'm going to recognize the district office, and then we'll give them awards later. Don Peterson, Vindy Virhani, Janet Weiss, Sherry Zuby, Jeannie Wood, and Cheryl Weiss at the district office. Cheryl Weiss, 45 years. Totally awesome. Totally awesome. Next, Ed Services. Beth, are you out there to do Ed Services?
I am here.
Go for it.
I am so happy to acknowledge Heather Landry with 5 years of service in the Gifted and English Learner Department, and Catherine Patterson with 5 years in the Ed Services Department.
Okay, moving on to transportation. Helene Nakadane. Oh, hold on. You want me to go to someone else first? Thank you, Beth. Thank you very much. So transportation.
I can go, Larry.
Okay, let's go ahead to maintenance. Cody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. To start off my list, I do the maintenance, transportation, and custodial. First one will be Levi Parquette. He's been 5 years. Another 5 years will be Herb Billa. And another 5 years would be Irvin Burns. And we have all the way to 15 years, Johnson Fowler over at Lakeview, custodial. And then we have the boss over at maintenance, which is Georgie Mowbray. She has 15 years. And then a big whopping 30 years, Eugene Trujillo at Desert View custodian. So we want to make sure we say hello to him. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Thank you very much. 30 years, outstanding. Just a moment, we're gearing up for transportation.
Yeah. Is it on?
Do you have the list? Yep, you're on.
I'm on.
Okay. Ms. Nakadane.
Hello, this is transportation. Excited to start the 2021 school year. And it's an honor to recognize the following service award recipients. Oliver Piquet, 5 years. Aaron Chi, 5 years. Start my video. Okay. hold on. Oops, sorry. Start all over again. Go ahead. Okay, Transportation is excited to start the 2021 school year, and it is an honor to recognize the
Oh,
following service award recipient.
Keep going.
Oliver Begay, 5 years. Aaron Chi, 5 years. Alice Rock, 5 years. Joe Slim, 5 years. Rosita Curley, 10 years. Glenda Thompson, 10 years. Patricia Benali, 10 years. Have a great year, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Desert View Preschool. Penny, are you there? Yeah, there you are. Let's do it.
Hello. All right, it's my pleasure to recognize Flor Sapelshikai. She's been with us for 5 years. Couldn't be happier about that. And myself for 15.
Oh, wow. 15 years. Awesome. Okay, Lakeview, Nancy Warner. Are you ready?
Hello and welcome back, everyone. It is my privilege to acknowledge the following staff members for their years of service to students and families here at Lakeview Primary School. So with 5 years, I want to start with Janine Fedorovich. Rita O'Neill with 5 years. 5 years. Angela Tapaha, 5 years. Sarah Watson, 10 years. Stacy Zineker, 10 years. Teresa Villa, 20 years. Lacey Harris, 20 years. And Janice Bartholomew, 25 years.
Whoa, awesome. Hey, all right. Wow. Hi, Lakeview. Good to see everyone. Here we go. Mary Stahl, are you ready?
I am. Hello, good
Okay.
afternoon, PUSD. I'm honored to recognize these people at Desert View today. Mimi Kleska, 5 years. Mimi, wave. Tiffany Fredericks, 5 years. Travis Larson, 5 years. Don Williams, 10 years.
All right.
Laverne Sosi, 15 years. Samantha Wright, 15 years. Charles or Chuck Serventi, 20 years. And Rachel West, 30 years. Woohoo!
Awesome.
Only 35 years old, so
Outstanding. Okay, going on to the middle school, Miss Covington.
good afternoon. It is with such pleasure that we celebrate the following for their years of service. The first person, and we are actually using social distancing, so each of the individuals are in their small groups with their content teams who will also be cheering them on. The first person with 5 years is Miss Tani Schultz.
All right.
Our second person for 5 years is Tamantha Sellers. Next for 5 years, Paulita Slim. And we have with 5 years, our lead custodian, Mr. William Tresh. Also with 5 years, we have Heather Saavedra, who is our secretary. We also have with 5 years, Miss Mary Hesse, our orchestra teacher. And with the rolling 15 years, a drum roll for Miss Teresa Robbins. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Miss Martin, Page High School. Are you there? Miss Martin, second call. There we go. Martin, Page High School. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm on location in Sand Devil Land at the library. And I have with me our distinguished employees for their service awards. First up are 5-year awards. Leland Bubby Billy. Next up is Deona Dempsey for 5 years as well. Then we have Stacy Mosey. Then we have a 5-year recipient, Jordan Peterson. Next up, we have Eugenia Trujillo. And then we have our 10-year service award, Christine Johnson. We have 2 15-year service awards, Kyron Kiesling and Misty Smith. And our 20-year, 2-decade service award, Justin Smith.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Good job, Justin. Good job, Miss Martin. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to Manson Mesa High School. Dr. Trina Hubbard, our new principal. Dr. Hubble.
Yes, Manson Mesa High School is excited to start the 2021 school year, and it is an honor to recognize the following service award recipients. For 5 years of service, we have Jessica Dixon. And also we have Spencer Kimball.
All right.
Yes,
excellent.
And we just want to say have a great year, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. What a great introduction. We're going to have a great year. Okay, everybody, if you haven't figured out, we have a little competition going as we get better and better. So as we do more virtual learning. So anybody who wants to contribute, please feel free to talk with the person doing the YouTube broadcast, and let's beef it up and make it more exciting. So we'll have to see. We may need to start the Page Unified School District Oscar Awards for the spring to see which one comes out with the greatest presentation. With that, I want to thank all of you. Outstanding. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and let's have a great year. Thank you very much.